Hello, she's Trixie, and I'm Sarah, and this is Our Yarn World, a place where we come to share the love of yarn crafts and all that it gives us and what we hope it gives you. We're on episode 195 today, and we are coming to you on a very wet and blustery, windy October day. It really finally kind of hit that time where October kind of gets really messy, so to speak.
Rainy and windy and dropping the leaves and
yeah, just very interesting. It really sets a tone.
yeah.
And I know that we kind of had a moment earlier today where we were kind of like, are we still hanging out today? Because it really makes you want to stay indoors and not do much. But you gotta push through. You gotta enjoy life, and honestly, that we can be inside together and not have to deal with that. So. Saw people working on the road today, and I kept being like, I hope they get hazard pay just because it's raining and cold. Because gosh darn it, it's just wow. I love the rain. I do. I really do love rain. But there is times where it really creates this feeling of like shutdown, like you really just kind of want to. It makes you feel uncomfortable when it's cold. Right. And it's like a very specific type of cold. It's not it's a comfortable cold. There's a difference when it's a wet cold. Yeah. There really is. Yeah. It's different. There sure is. It can be cold and you can still be like, okay, I can put on a jacket. Right. And I can just push through. But when it's wet, you're now like, trying to make sure your collar's up and trying to make sure nothing goes down your back and touches your foot the wrong way because you take your shoes off, but then all of a sudden your sock steps in the soggy spot where your shoe was draining off. It's
Well,
sorry.
Let us just talk about cozy comfort then.
I almost considered stealing one of the blankets from the bedroom for this video because I was so cold this morning.
Well, so I finished the blanket in a time that I had talked about it last week when we were at Sarah's house. I didn't bring it with me because it gets really bulky and it's hard to carry. I don't think I have a bag big enough for things that are getting so bulky. When you work with 2 yarns at a time and a 10mm hook, it gets big fast. And so I just didn't bring it last week. So now I've got a completed one to show you. It's another what Sarah calls a brick, building on itself. And since you know what that is already, since we've already talked about it so many times, I'm just going to show you what the colors are now.
I'm considering making a diagram of what I'm trying to say. And I might do that today so that when we're referring to different things that we've talked about many times, but if we have a new viewer, we can just pull it out and be able to explain it fast. Yeah. Because we're not trying to ignore anyone that might be coming to just this video in particular and not knowing what we're saying. But just like what Mom said, we do talk about it so much that it feels kind of like a broken record. Yeah.
Now, if you remember, I told you that when I first started this, it was kind of in jewel tones, and then I kind of went to this neon yellowy green, and I wasn't sure about that color, but it brings the whole blanket together. It really does. So I will introduce that when we get there, but I'm going to show you those pretty colors that I started it with. So. Isn't that beautiful? Just the purple, the green, and then the ruby red. Yeah. And then we've got that yellow color. And I when I was doing this, I thought, oh, this is going to be such a beautiful blanket. And then I got down here and I'm like, maybe it's not. But as you go through and you just keep going through all the colors that I had and then introducing the blue in there and starting to get like the beautiful colors working together. And then I ended on I put a black with a purple and a pink down here at the bottom. And I figured out that the black was another way to go. So the new blanket that I'm working on is black working with colors. It's going to be black all the way through.
Okay.
Working with colors. But it is not a brick. It is a true scrappy blanket.
Yeah.
It ends... You have the balls of yarn and you go all the way through that yarn. Yep. You don't stop. Each of these is just 4 lines.
Yeah. They
and you cut that off and you start a new color.
Yeah.
Well, in scrappy blankets you don't do that. You go all the way through the yarn until it's finally finished and you add a new color and then you go run with that color until it's finished.
You know, I might have you make something very specific. I had an idea when you were showing me this because you were talking about how it felt very abrupt when you changed kind of the mood of the blanket with that bright color.
Yeah.
But you're missing 2 colors for it to be what I'm thinking it should be. But if you're thinking like that, like a mood, I almost thought that this kind of reminded me of like a Scooby-Doo blanket with like all the different characters' colors in it, but it doesn't have orange to go with Velma, and it doesn't have brown to go with Scooby, but it has the green, it has those that pastel purple, the blues, and some of those muted fun fall colors because Scooby-Doo is so focused on like, you know, the monster season, so more like, you know, fall stuff. Not that it doesn't have other seasons, but you know what I'm talking about. But it'd be kind of fun if we almost, not saying you have to, but like create something that's kind of like an homage to something, and then like I make an applique of like the Scooby-Doo sign that you can sew on top of it, or like, you know, you could do Aladdin with like all the and then you can, so like these scrappy blankets, even though they are on the random side, and you can be as random as you want to be with those colors, you can kind of create baskets of color that represent different themes.
Yeah.
So that they still work together with what you're trying to do, and then we can applique different like things on top of it to make it almost like a patchwork of like.
So cool.
Because that could be something fun for like people who are a fan of something that you could give it as a gift to somebody.
Yeah.
Because a lot of people with crochet, sorry, didn't mean to cut you off, they do like the granny squares, and each granny square is a different image. Like it has a different theme to it to add together. But I think the scrappy blanket has that potential, but then you kind of put patches of different appliques that you make.
I was just thinking
Stitch, yeah. But you know what I'm saying, right? Like
the
if
different colors, yeah.
You could do the Hawaiian flower as an applique and like different things, right? Like the tiki kind of like face and the different things, like, ain't that kind of interesting? Granted, I know that that's not what this is, but there's ways that we could incorporate ideas with these scrappy blankets so that they are more intentional, because like you said, this really scared you at first.
Right.
But if you really think about it, you went with the process, you chose to see it through to the end. It ended up being beautiful.
Right.
It really ended up being its own spot, and it kind of reminded me of Scooby-Doo. This like these colors. Obviously, it doesn't have every single color in there that would require it to be Scooby-Doo, but I really think that it's very interesting that you could have that flexibility of having it be still random,
Right.
and not so forced into this structure,
Yeah.
while also given over to this, I'm inspired by all these colors and what that means while watching something really fun.
Yeah.
Or
Yeah.
that,
I like it.
not saying you have to do that, but I think that that's kind of interesting. Just kind of spice it up and make it something fun.
Right.
Because you
Right.
could always put the patches on the corners where they're less likely to tighten up in the middle or make it
Yeah.
awkward, like especially if it's around the border, so there's less likely of it creating distortion in the middle of the blanket.
Right. Yeah. So we do come up with ideas on this channel, and sometimes right on the spot. So,
Sorry, we might not even do this, but I think that that creates like options, like
and it's a new idea, and if you guys want to run with it too, that's
Right.
totally optional.
because like even if the blanket is scrappy, you don't do anything more with the blanket than the themes of the random colors for something. The pillow that you put with it could be more intentional with a design, right?
There you go, yeah.
You know, the pillow could introduce like if you wanted to go with the Scooby-Doo idea, you could do like the big really fun peace flowers and the stuff that was around the mystery machine
The
and all
van,
this
yep.
stuff. And then you could have different like homages, like even with scraps, like ribbons and stuff that could be like tassels
Yeah.
for the pillow. Could be like, you know, kind of like Fred's ascot. Is that what it's called?
Yeah.
And then like Daphne's like, you know, like ribbon or hair thing that she has, and you know, Velma really went all in with that orange and like,
And her glasses.
and her glasses, and like, you know, you have Scooby-Doo's collar with that diamond name tag, and you got Shaggy with that green and the brown. I just think that there's such a very interesting a way that you can tie it in very loosely while it being on theme.
Yeah.
It doesn't have to be necessarily something specific, but it sparks nostalgia. It sparks association, right? It's still its own freestyle, artistic kind of nod to something. And I think that that's something that, you know, people who like to binge watch shows could do with their crafts, like especially like crafts like especially for like new creators on a project that needs simple designs where it's just one stitch every single row.
Yep.
Nothing too crazy. You can almost do a blindly while you're watching the show.
Yep.
And this is even good for even seasoned people like us that just need that sense of a break. They just need it to be something repetitive and meditative and rewarding because it's so fast building.
And keeping your hands busy.
And it also is a stash buster. It gets
Oh,
stuff
yeah.
done. You know,
Yes.
it gets things out of your stash that's been sitting there forever.
Yep.
And I think that there's a reality that if you kind of are like, ooh, I want to binge watch this show, maybe I can take it before I go and get my, you know, my spot set up. I can take a basket, go to my section, and find things that inspire me from
That's
this
what
show.
I do.
From the show that
Yeah.
if I'm going to be binging it anyway, these colors are already going to be on theme for what I'm doing.
Yeah.
And it can just be like, well, I was watching this show and made this blanket with these colors that remind me of the show.
Yeah.
I think that that's kind of fun.
Yeah,
it might
it
be
is.
a kind of a cool way to just be simple. That could be a cool way to introduce a new crafter, like a teenager or a young kid, or even just someone who wants to learn, or a friend that wants to get into it with you.
Right.
Just some way to be able to make it fun and not too stressful.
And introducing colors that you might not think go together, but they do.
Right. And even going to somewhere like Walmart, right, that has those really nice acrylics for like $2-3, but they're a decent size.
Yeah.
You could even go there, buy the yarn there, and just do it, because that's not too much. You can invest like three, 4 colors for almost $12-15, and then be able to start a blanket that means something to you, keeps your hands busy, keeps you warm, makes it fun for you to be able to reference back to that time when you're watching. Especially during this time of year where there's so many memorable shows that you can watch that kind of fall into that fall theme, regardless of Halloween. If you're not into that, there's plenty of shows and movies and music and just books, audiobooks you could listen to or read that kind of tie into this feel, right?
Yeah.
So, yes, that idea. I think that's kind of cool. You could also do pillows because, I have to throw that in there because I'm a pillow fiend. Anyway.
So what have you been up to?
I haven't picked up a yarn craft yet. I need to. I have so much to get done and so many things to do, especially after last week with my son telling me all the things I have to make for him for Christmas and his birthday.
Before we get started with yours, just in case, I was called to jury duty next week.
Oh, that's right.
In case that's the case, we are not going to have a video next week if I'm in jury.
Yep.
Now, just because I got it doesn't mean it's going to happen. But so we may or may not be here next week. In case we're not, I would like to say that starting the first week in November, we're starting our the craftiest time of the year.
Yep.
And I was going to introduce it next week, but then I don't know if we're going to be here or not.
Right,
so,
for sure.
I wanted to put that out there. The first week in November starts the craftiest time of the year, and we go all the way through the end of the year. So we will be having all kinds of projects that we can work on, getting ready for our Christmases. You guys could do that as well for you guys' Christmases coming up, or birthdays or whatever, because we've got birthdays and Christmases all surrounding this area of our time for this time of the year. So that was just on my mind, and I knew
good.
that if I waited till the end, I was gonna forget. So
Nope, you're fine.
So now back to you.
Yeah, you're good. You're fine. Anyone who's been watching recently knows that I got really sick during September. I not only had family coming into town, but I got COVID, I got pneumonia, and I had a hard time recovering quickly after that. I was very tired. I still am, still struggling with that. And on top of that, because of the family member that came into town, my father-in-law, he was really excited to kind of introduce the idea to my children that they could get their rooms painted while he was there, because he would provide the funds to be able to do so, because he wanted to do something fun for them, because he doesn't come in very often. So when he does, he wants to kind of make it fun and, be able to put his own ability to be able to kind of do the things that, grandparents do that he's not able to do all the time because he lives in Florida and we live in Michigan. So he blessed them with the opportunity to be able to choose their color. And he bought all the paint. And his intention was to paint the room on his own. He was going to make a day of doing it. He works at, he did. He recently retired. But he made it his career to work at Home Depot. But he's very well when it comes to like DIY, do it yourself, especially home improvement stuff. He's very, very knowledgeable about it, because not only did he work in the industry that kind of produces that sort of a supply, right, but he himself is a doer when it comes to that sort of stuff. He loves to renovate homes. He loves to do that sort of stuff. Like, that is his cup of tea. So his plan was to do that for the kids. He wasn't expecting us to really have to do any of it. He's like, my labor of love, I want to offer it to the kids. You just kind of move their stuff out of the way. Me and one of us could help him get it done fast, make it a day of it so that it could dry, and then we can put the furniture back in. When I got sick halfway through the visit, the paint was already done and we had already cleaned out the rooms. So it kind of created like this, all the stuff kind of got everywhere in the house because, well, there was no reason to move it back in when there was paint. And this was still the perfect time to get the rooms done, even though I had to be well enough to do it. because my father-in-law couldn't be hanging out with us, needing to be able to get back home safely. He couldn't possibly get COVID, which I'm not mad at him, not at all. But it was just one of those circumstantial, it kind of created the snowball effect, right? Where it's like all these good intentions of setting things up for success turned into all these almost systematic fallbacks and setbacks that would constantly happen. So it landed with just, hey, hi, thanks for coming to visit. This is really fun. We're going to have a fun family time to, here's an idea for what we can do while I'm here, to, now you have COVID, so I can't come. Then the following week I got pneumonia. And then after I was recovering from all that and getting all the painting done, I was really excited because I could push stuff back into the room. We got head lice, and that meant that I had to re-examine everything for possible contamination, which meant that things were getting bagged and things were getting moved and things were getting cleaned. So everything that I had practically put back into the rooms had to be re-pulled out, re-evaluated, re-cleaned, the whole, and it was just one of those, like, sickness can put a tamper on your ability to have some sort of, concentration and focus on any sort of project. But on top of that, my ability to be able to feel like I have the room or space to stay creative when my house is chaotic has not been easy. And that's not an excuse. It's just a truth. When you kind of feel lack of inspiration when there's so much to do. Yeah. It's insane. So I've really been trying to get off of that. I still have things to move into Kanyo's room after getting done painting. I still have to finish a couple of trim things so I can even give my mom back a step ladder that she let me borrow for it. There's so many small things that just need to have the day to get it done, but I've been so fatigued because I'm still recovering from being sick, because you don't realize how long pneumonia and COVID at the same time can really knock your body down. And there's just been so many little things I just feel like they're just pebbles in the shoe, taking away the willingness to get up and get moving, even though your brain wants to get it done. But it's like your body can't follow. Right. And that goes with also crafting. I want to craft. There's things I want to do, but I haven't had the energy. And it has left me very fatigued. So I am trying to kind of set myself up for success. My son has ideas for what he wants me to do. If my daughter has ideas, I'd like to be able to offer them to her. But so far, there's nothing that she has really said that she wanted for Christmas this year, besides other things that are her own personal hobbies that I would like to be able to support. So homemade crafts might be more of a Canyon thing than an Olivia thing, which is fine. Because I don't want to push a narrative where Olivia has to be happy with everything that I'm making for her, when it's kind of forced, kind of like a, mommy made this so you should be happy about it, which granted, I would like her to be respectful with people giving her something because they thought of her, but I don't want her to feel obligated, because I want her to be able to make her space hers, not feel like she has to take on someone else's style just because it's important to them. I want her to have her room the way she wants it. Right. And that doesn't mean that she doesn't enjoy what I've created for her up until this point. But I don't know whether there's anything she wants me to create right now. And she will let me know if she wants something. That's the one thing I know about her. I don't have to worry about that. If she doesn't want anything right now, that's fine. She will let me know later. Right. Doesn't matter. Because she's been really into puzzles. She's been really into other things. I have no problem making it possible for me to get frames and stuff so that she can put puzzles up on her new fancy wall. All these different things that will still be something I can provide for her. My Canyon just seems to be the crafter. He's really taken on having a vision when it comes to things. Yeah. He's constantly telling me not to throw things away because he wants to be able to repurpose them and make new things. He's really always excited when I get something out because he wants to see what I'm doing.
He loves to water paint.
He loves to paint. And it's not that Olivia doesn't like to color and stuff, but she does it for completely different reasons. In some ways, Olivia does it as a means to calm herself down and just center herself, whereas Caniel does it because he's constantly inspired, because he's constantly having an imagination that's always running.
Yes.
So it's just one of those things. And again, this is not me trying to make it seem like my kids rule the roost or anything. Just I'm trying to make sure that my happiness in my craft is still something that does not become this thing where they feel like they have to make me happy by accepting something just because I feel inspired by it to think of them. Because I've learned a lot recently that just because I think that they like it doesn't mean that they actually like it. They're really maturing and really kind of honing in on their own character and what they like and what they don't like. And sometimes when I think that they are not going to like it, they surprise me and like it. And sometimes there's things that I thought that they like that they don't like because they are becoming their own person, and I want to celebrate that journey with them while also them finding ways to be able to find the common ground that we have, as I am already my own person, but them figuring out where we align.
Right.
And it doesn't have to be the same thing.
Right.
Caniel and I seem to more align when it comes to the crafting. Olivia seems to enjoy different other hobbies that I enjoy too, like the puzzles. It doesn't have to be the same thing. And whereas they were kids and younger and toddlers and they enjoyed a new toy, her interests are changing.
Yeah.
And what she wants for Christmas is changing. And I am
this is so fun.
You know what I mean? There's a sense of like, there's going to be a day where she still wants me to be like, Mom, can you make this mural on the wall? Or can you make this over here? Or can you do this over here? And I want to be a part of that creativity because I'm able to be a part of that creativity. Sorry, I need this. My nose. But it's one of those things where I'm trying to figure that out. It's very interesting having a kid that's starting to become their own person. They're finally getting to that age where it's changing.
And it's so fun. I love it.
Because my daughter chose a color for her room that none of us thought she was going to choose. It was like a sage pastel muted green. So gorgeous. It's amazing. But I was like, I would have never thought that you would like that color.
But she's the moody academia.
She really is. She's very... She is surprising me. And in a way that really warms my heart because... It's kind... Sorry, I almost burped. It's really starting to show me the sort of person that she's likely going to be. And I'm very excited to be able to have her. I love her at every stage that she has been. But when you realize the sort of kid that has been able to come into your life and you get to grow old with.
Yeah.
And they get to develop into this person.
Yeah.
That you get to walk alongside with. It really is this amazing experience. Obviously, I am mom. But there's going to be a day where I don't have to be mom all the time and they can be friend. And
I am her mom and we are friends too. So
we hang out all the time because we have so much in common, right? I come to her as mom when I need it. And she comes to me as daughter when she needs that that relationship too, because we have that relationship.
Yeah.
But it has matured because I'm not always relying on her in that sort of means where she's the elder in the relationship. Right. There's just things where we just get along because we have that common ground.
And we've always had that. But now you are getting to do that with your daughter, and I am so excited for you.
Yeah. Olivia was just at her desk. And I sat in the chair that you gave her, and I was just typing away on my computer while she just sat there and just chilled with me. Because we just wanted to be in each other's company yesterday.
So that's just, I'm so excited that it's getting to that point for you.
And you want to know what Caniel is doing? He was playing video games with his dad out in the living room.
How awesome is that? You know, your family is just kind of a perfect little mix.
We have a really nice, tight unit.
Yeah.
We've had moments where my mom has come over just on random Saturdays where we just weren't expecting anyone to be over.
Right.
And she was just kind of like, can I stay for a little bit? Because she was just originally dropping something off.
Right.
And then she's like, do you mind if I just stay? Like, I have my craft in the car. And we're like, that's fine. I don't care. But then I remember her just kind of observing all the things that we're all kind of like doing on our own, but around each other.
Yeah.
We were in sync, but we were all doing different things on our own.
Right.
And the way that our family just kind of was like going in and out of rooms and just operating around each other. And she was just like, you guys really like each other. And it was not in a mean way, but just kind of
it's a calm situation when everybody is cohesive.
it's like we're all coexisting.
Yes.
And a very like steady
Yeah.
rhythm with each other. It's just like, well, yeah, it's just kind of...
Well, I'm not used to that because Kaniel can be really, really,
hyper.
yeah, at times. But there's other times when he can sit down and just paint. Water paint a whole picture or 2 or 5 or you know.
And it's just all that he can do.
He's just sitting there, and he'll just say, all of a sudden he'll be running around, and all of a sudden he'll just say, Nana, can I paint today? Can I just paint? And I'm like, yeah, I'll get your water for you.
And this is where I'm going with my crafts I'm showing you today. My ability to be able to just do yarn crafts have not been exactly available. But I have a friend who invited me to be a part of her D&D. Don't know if you know what that is, but D&D is a type of game.
Right.
It is a game where it's almost like a video game, but it's a board game. And it's so cool, right? So like anyone who plays video games, you get to be a main character and you get to be a part of a journey that is preset, but you get to make choices. And each choice can determine how the story continues, right? Some can be very linear, some can have multiple endings, some can have, whatever. With this, there is a person that is called the Dungeon Master that chooses the story, creates a world, chooses the story, and has multiple outcomes for every single way that things could go.
Okay.
But each person that's a part of the game gets to create their own character with their own backstory in the world, and then they operate together with dice. Each dice has a different job for what it helps you make decisions for. Okay. And based off of the decisions that, the dice chose, when you rolled the dice, it chose this number. You ask the Dungeon Master what that means for you and what choice that leads you to. And it allows you to kind of have like this interactive game in the world that's been created for a character that you get to make, but it's a board game that is so interactive. It's so much fun. It's so much fun. And some people, it's not their cup of tea, and that's fine. But the one part of it that makes it really fun is that you get to make, because it's a board game, the whole table practically becomes the world in front of you in this like 3D dimension, because you get these little figures that are you, and you get to place where they're going throughout the world. Right. But normally through each session it's just one scene, right?
Okay. Yeah.
So that, I'm in this town and here's the forest. So we're making it through this town, making the choices we have to make to go to the next stage of the story. Okay. And then you can switch scenes into where you're in the forest and then heading into maybe a canyon or this and that. So each section is a completely different, part of the story. Okay. But you can make miniature towns and stuff for the table so that you get to interact with that part of the town structure, so that it's easier for you to be able to process what you're being made to do. Obviously, in an actual video game, the town is virtual, and the game makers actually make that towns for the character for you to be able to go to each thing. As the people that are playing it, you get to be a part of making the structures, so it's easier for you and the dungeon master to be able to show what are all your options.
Okay, so.
And my friend, she loves crafting, but she asked for my help because she knows that I have more experience crafting. That's all that it is. It's not that she's not good at crafting, just some things are a little bit easier for me to be able to come up with faster, just because I have more, I've spent more time doing it. That's literally it. And she's like, we have a whole bunch of cardboard. Can you start making houses and buildings and structures? And I'm actually going to be making, so like when we're fighting inside of a building, the building will be like an actual building at first, but then when we change into being inside the building, I will have we'll switch to having a full floor plan with all the stuff inside the building, where you're looking inside from on top, and all the structures and even possibly different levels will change where we're at, and then put the next room. Wow. And I'm creating rooms and stuff, and she's creating the terrain, so she's making the rocks. The world has volcanoes, she's making all that, and we're painting and we're having fun. And I've been making with cardboard, so this is part of a roof. Cut up a whole bunch of stuff, making a roof, making it peaked. I'm going to be making structures and making completely, like, she wants me to make Dutch homes that have all that fun, like, architecture between brick and mortar to wood. And I get to paint, and I get to texture and age and make it look real. But also, I've been making potions. So this is just a regular glass bottle with a cork on top, and it's small. But I've been making a whole bunch of potions for her, so that if, let's say I know this is only the roof, but let's say this is like a shop. If the character needs to get a healing potion or needs to get a magic potion, like you were playing a video game, like a fantasy video game, they could go there, roll their dice, see if they can be able to buy one. And I've already created a whole bunch where it's like there's green inside, or there's this inside, or this inside. The Dungeon Master is able to actually give that to the character, so that they're able to see in their inventory, which is actually going to be a physical inventory, what they have to give to the character. And when they've used it, they can give it back to the Dungeon Master so they can recycle it.
Oh, wow.
So that it's not something you have to write down all the time in your notebook. It's something that can be chess pieces that you have in your arsenal.
Wow.
It's so much fun. but I've been making messages in a bottle. I've been making a whole bunch of stuff, and it's really created this thing of, what can I do? My father, we were going to a church downtown, and the pastor had asked my dad, because he knew that my dad was a carpenter, can you make a mini model of our church? Just a building. It doesn't necessarily need to be a play-by-play of the church building, but because the pastor wanted a visual representation of an offering bucket, but for the church itself, like, hey,
for the building fund.
Yeah, so he's like regular tithes and offerings, benevolence, and like missions, and children, children's churches and everything, so that everyone knew kind of what they were putting into. But the way that they had it all set up, he also wanted an option for the building. He kind of wanted to make it a little bit more like obvious, instead of just all of them being routine buckets, because our pastor kind of had, at the time, our pastor had that kind of like vision of like making it a little bit more visual representation to make it a little bit easier for people. And he asked my dad to commission it. And my dad took the time to actually like look up the blueprints of the church itself and make it full on like dollhouse size miniature of the church's structure, with a steeple and the pillars in the front, and where every single door was in every single spot,
and all the stained glass windows,
everything. And the roof would open up with a lock with a little slit, kind of like a piggy bank, so that people could throw things in, but there was a lock so that people couldn't just steal.
Then the counters could take the money out.
Right. And no big deal, it's great. But when I say the pastor had come and had seen it, and he was like, Jeff, I didn't ask you to go this far. Like, I wasn't asking you to go like this hard on making it like a miniature. But my dad was like, if you were asking me to do it, I was going to do it right. And obviously the pastor was very appreciative and was like, absolutely. And then when the church was actually getting like extra parts of the church built onto it for different reasons, because the church was really old and we needed more things like upstairs bathrooms and stuff. He joked with the congregation saying, maybe Jeff needs to add more rooms to the little mini church that he made. Because again, the pastor had just wanted a little house. He really just wanted a little dollhouse, just repurposed to be a piggy bank. And my dad went so far to be like, no, I'm going to get the blueprints and make it look. And my friend is like, if your dad, I was telling her about my dad doing that. She's like, then I think I can trust you to make a whole bunch of because she's like, if I am doing the landscape and I'm doing like the rocks and the terrains, I don't feel like I have as much pressure to make it perfect, because the rocks need to be rough and the trees need to be rough and they need to be a little bit more, they don't have to be symmetrical and they don't have to look a certain way. They can be kind of organic and not be something I have to worry about.
Right.
At first I was like, why don't you just get rocks from outside and then make them boulders? But she explained that the only reason why she was using foam was because some of the rocks had to have flat edges for the character pieces to be able to stand on, to be able to show where they were on the landscape.
Right.
So she's like, yeah, I can put rocks and stuff for like different obstacles when we're creating like pathways, but for places I want you guys to traverse, like up a mountain, I want you guys to have like those ledges that I want to be able to create. I was like, okay, that makes more sense. But she has a little bit less pressure on herself as to them being a full structure that requires knowing some level of a blueprint, whereas she's like, you and like your dad already kind of have that brain that knows how to figure that out. I can do something that's less tedious. Right. But I've been making a whole bunch of these little potions and stuff, so it's been really fun. And when I say my son just looked when he saw me making this stuff, and he was like, you were able to make that out of cardboard? And I was like, uh-oh. I don't know what
You don't have to throw anything away.
I don't know what he's going to do when he sees me painting it.
Yeah.
He's going to make so much stuff.
Yep.
It's going to be done. Every single rock that he collects is going to need its own little house, like a dog house. Everything. It's going to be crazy. But it doesn't have to be perfect. Obviously, this isn't perfect. I just kind of made it fun. And I plan to make it like, I'm getting popsicle sticks to make it like a different wood textures and stuff on the outside. And I even considering getting like old like wristwatch faces to be able to put clock faces in to make it look like it has like a clock tower. Yes. Little bells to make like peaked like Christmas little bell decorations to be able to make little bell towers.
We may have to look around the house.
So when I say this is kind of peaked a new kind of like, because I want to make tapestries to be able to put in the walls for like when it's like big respectable like buildings or like churches that we're going into or whatever. I want to make like crochet and like knit or weave like little tapestries that we can hang inside the walls and when we're inside the buildings and stuff like that to kind of create these little details. And it's like there's a sense of freedom when it's like this is like the adult version of making doll houses practically, but there's a sense of like that inner child that's playing. Really like it. Sorry. We really went long with this video. I'm so sorry. I'm so talkative.
So, our quote today is, there are no days so delightful as those of a fine October.
It makes you stay in and craft. Yeah.
There you go. So, that was said by Alexander Smith. There are no days so delightful as those of a fine October. Mm-hmm. And so we want you to be able to have time for your crafts. Make time for your crafts. Whatever they may be, do them with your whole heart. Mm-hmm. And make sure that the littles in your life are seeing what you're doing and maybe getting inspired too.
Mm-hmm.
And we want to make sure that you like and subscribe, and that you comment, and that you tell your friends.
Yes, and as always, no matter how much we've rambled, for anyone who has taken on the grievous task to be able to watch us all the way to the end, thank you. We just get very passionate, and we really love sharing our day to day with anyone who is willing to listen, because obviously crafting is a very special community. It kind of pulls many different facets out of people, that different parts of them out, and allows them to be able to be their inner kid and be free and have fun and create memories and create fun. And I think that there's just something that, even as a yarn crafter, just being able to even just make something as fun as just cardboard projects and stuff, where you're just kind of like freehanding it.
Yeah.
It really is fun, and it is adaptable. There's a lot of crafts that could adapt into other different art forms, because you practice that in your brain. It allows your brain to be able to think outside the box. So if you want to try a new craft, don't be afraid to try.
Yeah.
Because you'll be surprised what you're capable of doing, because you've been practicing. Even if you didn't think you were, you have been. So as always, until next time, we hope that you have a great rest of your day, and that you stitch your way
to mental health.